answer your questions today. You're most welcome to pop me some questions in the comments, but we're going to go ahead with a question I received about how do I build shoulder strength and back muscle strength. It's a huge question because it involves a lot of moving parts of the dog's body. So what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate a little bit on the shoulder side today, and maybe we'll go on to the back end next week. So let's see what we can do. When we talk about shoulders and the dog's body, when are the shoulders and back end used? Let me show you in some pictures, really. Pictures are always much easier than the talking. So let's go there. So the shoulders and the back end is used all the time, all the time. Even when the dog is playing, as it's going around, eating its food, most of your dog's body weight is on the shoulders on a normal day. So they carry their body weight between 60 and 70% of their body weight is on their shoulders, and the balance is on their rear legs. So their shoulders are being used a lot. And if we have to consider working the shoulders, we also need to consider other things like, let me just get all my ducks in a row here. We also have to consider things like stabilisation and lateral movement and flexibility of the shoulders. So here you can see shoulders are at work. Even if a dog is going to do a retrieve, the shoulders are involved when it comes to a really tight turn. At that change of direction, the shoulders are incorporated first. So this is a good picture. You can see the power of the dog. The whole body of the dog is at work here, but those shoulders, they do the first change of direction. So this is really important. And that lateral movement, that sideways movement, all happens in the shoulders. If you're looking at also just your agility dogs, in the weave sticks, that sideways movement, that is all the shoulders. So there's a lot of pressure on the shoulders and the muscles involved in the shoulders. It goes all the way right down through the body, through the spine and through to the back end, because especially in your weave sticks, if your back end and your core is not strong, you need that stability to control the back end. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of torque on the spine as it goes through those weave sticks. So your shoulders, those are the directional movements, and to the side, it's really, really important. Shoulder exercises, yeah. Your shoulder takes all the impact. Your shoulder and front arms and elbows, they take all the impact for the landing. So not only do they change direction, but if you're doing any jumps, whether it is in agility, in IGP, anything over a jump over the A-frame, any landing. So even in your, English is gone, hunting dogs, if they have to, our terrain is quite difficult, so they have to jump over fynbos. They can't just go through the brush in South Africa, so they're hopping all the time on very tough terrain. A lot of impact on the shoulders. So the shoulders have to take in a lot of impact. That muscle stabilization is very important because a dog hasn't got their shoulders aren't attached to the body with a joint. Their shoulders are attached to the body with muscles and ligaments. So that muscle strength and that stabilization strength in the shoulders is very, very important. Here you can also see on this side here with change of direction and even sprinting, your back legs push you off, but your front legs and your shoulders, they grab the ground and they pull forward and they change direction. So the shoulders need to be very, very strong. I love these pictures where you see all the muscles working. So shoulders need to be strong, but they also need to be flexible. Very important. If the muscles are just strong and they become a little bit muscle bound and they don't have that flexibility and that reach forward to come back and the reach to the side, and they're just strong, those muscles then, because there isn't any flexibility, other parts of the body will give way and you'll get tears because it can't stretch. So flexibility and stabilization, proprioception, where your dog's body is and what it needs to do with its body is very important when you're exercising those shoulders. If we look further, you also have to consider your dog's joints, ligaments, and tendons. in the shoulders. So here we're seeing, even in protection work, when the dog is fighting, it's fighting the helper with his shoulders and its front end. But the rest of the body, it also needs the strength from the core and the back legs to fight. So it's no good if it's just got the front end strength and the back end is nothing there. It's just following along and dragging. It hasn't got the support of the rest of the body. And similarly, other way around, if it's only got the back end and it hasn't got the front end to hold itself, it puts a lot of strain on the back of the neck and on the spine. So those shoulders are really important, and you have to consider the joints that go along. The biggest joint when it comes to weak shoulders, the first joint to go is the elbow, especially for that lateral movement. So your muscles surrounding those joints inside the shoulders and around the elbows and forearms is very, very important. And then I love this photograph because it shows everything. This is just a normal pickup from a retrieve. So here you can see how when you are working the shoulders, you must also consider the middle parts of the body. So not just the shoulders, but everything that connects the front and the rear of the dog as well. So the core and the back. You'll see here, just from a normal pickup on a retrieve, that stopping action. So that impact with the dog's running full out. So that stopping action and all the body of this dog, this body mass coming into a huge halt, has to be impacted into those shoulders as he stops. And you'll see it nicely here in the shoulder muscles as it contracts and then goes down to pick up that dumbbell. If it hasn't got the muscle strength, it can very easily implant his face into the ground. But not only the muscle strength in the shoulders, the whole core has to work with it. It has to contract and pull the dog, get ready to pull that dog back into action and turn. And similarly, the back legs. So here the hamstrings and that pulling backwards in the back legs to stop the dog from hurting itself and falling into the ground. Everything works when a dog is working in a sport. So when you're working your shoulder muscles, don't forget the rest of the body. If one part is weak, you will have injuries elsewhere. So if you're looking at shoulders, our muscles never work in isolation. They are always working together with the rest of the body. You can see it perfectly here in this picture. But when we exercise those muscles, we can isolate muscles to exercise them and make sure that they are strong and healthy and supple, etc. But as you exercise in your dog, don't forget to do the rest of the body and incorporate those various isolated spots into the rest of the body when it comes to an exercise program. So you can exercise isolated muscles, but in practice, all these muscles need to work together. So you have to incorporate those ideas of when you're working your dog and when you're exercising your dog. This is very, very important. So when you're exercising for strength in the shoulders, strength is important, but it's not enough. So like I said earlier, you need to have your flexibility and you need to have your lateral movements, etc. But when you're working for your strength, the biggest exercise for shoulders, I'll give you a few ideas, is that you can use various positions of the dog, like your sit stands on your downs, and how you use them and how you work them will give you shoulder strength. So one of the exercises you can also do is a normal high five, but you can vary it and you can make it more difficult for a dog, where if you're going to be doing a high five at a medium height, it's less difficult than a dog having to really reach up for that high five. So the dog on this side, my left-hand side, I think your right-hand side, the dog without the person, for him to hold his paw up there is more difficult than a dog touching your hand, because he has to incorporate all of these muscles to lift his paw. So the dog in the picture without the person, that is a much more difficult position for a dog to hold than the one where the dog is giving a high five to the person. So you can work on your high fives, but you also, you can do it like a clock almost. This is a little bit advanced, but there's a normal high five at 12 o'clock, and then you can go to 1, 2, and 3 o'clock. So they do a lateral movement with their shoulder, which is not easy for a dog to go outwards. and then also across this way to ask for a high five on the inside. So they're working the lateral movements of the muscle. So you can use your high five, and you can also use incline and declines of just wherever you are, so up and down a hill. If a dog is walking downwards, they're using a lot more weight bearing on their shoulders. So that will cause increased muscles to be used and more muscles to be used. They have to be stronger to carry themselves downhill. Similarly, now you could use cavalettis to force them to lift their legs higher. So they're getting that extra movement and they're getting the extra awareness within the shoulder. So if you're asking them to do cavalettis, just ask them to lift their legs, and depending on the height, it'll be more difficult, and also the distance. So if the cavalettis is quite close, it causes the body, the whole body, to work more, how can you say, on purpose. So everything has to work. They can't just run through. They have to concentrate on exactly on what they're doing, and it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to do. If you're looking at, you can either use equipment or no equipment, but go carefully. Oh, now you see I'm in this picture. Let me show you here. There you go. So stairs are nice. Walking downstairs uses the shoulders because a lot of weight is on the front legs, but be careful of not bouncing downstairs. You don't want extra jolting on the shoulders, so you want a controlled walk downstairs. Also front bows, or even what they would call human push-ups. So the dogs are going into a bow and they're coming up and they're going in the bow. They're just using the front shoulders. Then you can use also, these are all the pictures of the dogs in the bow and the stairs. It's all stable surfaces, but you can also then go to unstable surfaces. But please bear in mind that this is more advanced. So your dog must have good stability to work on an unstable surface. Please be careful that you don't go, oh, let me try this with my dog. Your dog must first be secure in those muscles, and it must have the muscle memory to stabilize itself before it goes onto an unstable surface. It must learn about balance within it, works with its core just to keep its shoulders stabilized. So please watch out for that. The most important thing is if you are strengthening any muscle part, it should be part of a balanced exercise program. So you're not only going to be doing strength training on a particular day, but you'll also be doing possibly flexibility, proprioception, balance, and muscle awareness, proprioception, and then also your sport training on various days. But when you are doing strength training, you must consider proper rest. This is very important, because when you are training for strength, you are tearing muscle fibers. Any strength training to build muscle, you are tearing muscle fibers, and the rest is important for those muscles to repair. Only once they are repaired do they become stronger, because more muscle fibers form. So your rest days after a strength training day is seriously important. Don't miss out on that. Don't be too over-eager. If you don't rest, your dog will go downhill. So rest is very, very important. But then after you've gone through all the things, there's a few things that you need to consider. And this is, if you don't look at these things as well, you will cause damage to your dog. So the first thing that you must remember, that if you are not going to prepare their body in balance, like I showed you earlier on, the shoulders don't work in isolation. You need your core and your back end, and everything works together, especially in a sport dog. If you're not going to do these things, and there's going to, you're working on one thing only, you're not considering the flexibility of the dog and the balance of the dog, you will cause imbalances in the body. And where there are imbalances, you will get an injury. And injuries come when there's imbalances, but they will also, more often than not, make themselves present and known to you once you start increasing your training. And training increases just before a big trial. So if you are working hard and now you're going to start increasing your training, and that's when the dog will show he can't, or he's not jumping like he should, or he's somehow knocking the poles, his weaves are slightly out. The dog normally clears a jump, but he's not quite now. He must be a bit lazy. It's just that an imbalance has come to the fore. So the most important time to start any training for fitness or conditioning and keeping the entire body in balance and in good condition is way before you start to increase your training for that trial. Seriously important, guys. When you start training for a fitness program, the most important thing that you must consider is your dog's starting fitness level. So if I had to just give exercises out here, it would be really not very responsible of me, because people watching this have dogs at varying fitness levels. So start only once your dog has got a clear bill of health. Check with the vet. Sometimes, especially some breeds, your dog may have some underlying condition that you don't know about. I know some breeds have got a heart issue, or there may be a joint issue you don't know about, or a small muscle issue, small soft tissue issue that you don't know about. Check with the vet. Make sure he goes, yes, carry on with the fitness program. And then continue, but then always start where your dog is. So if your dog is medium level of fitness, start your fitness level at medium. Don't start here. Start where your dog is. Make sure you've got a solid, good foundation, and then build from there. Don't just jump into where you want your dog to be and see, can he do this or can't he do this, and then go from there. Start where your dog is, because it's new exercises, and the dog's body has to understand new muscle memory. Because when you're training, and any fitness program that you're doing, it's a repetitive motion. So you can do 5 sits or whatever, it's a repetitive thing. And if you are going to be doing something over and over and your dog hasn't got that muscle memory for it, it's more difficult for him. He's learning something new. That brain-muscle connection still has to be made. Once that brain-muscle connection is there, then it becomes easier, then you can progress. And for that muscle memory to take place, you're looking at 2 to 3 weeks of a new movement before the dog's muscle memory understands. So just because your dog can do it doesn't mean that he knows it. So be careful about how you progress. Start where your dog is. Rather have a solid foundation than jumping ahead. If you jump ahead, there will always be a hole in his fitness, and it will come and bite you in the backside later on. Okay, also, watch for your dog's technique and form. So like I said, it's a repetitive motion, and if your technique and form is wrong, you're repeating a wrong form and technique, and that can bring on a problem. So the most important thing, and it will help you get better strength results, better fitness results, better speed results. All of those things will become better if your technique and form is correct. So rather concentrate on that in the beginning than rush and say, oh, well, my dog can sit. How is he sitting? Is everything square? Is everything straight? Is he doing things correctly? Is he using the correct muscles? Is he engaging his core in the sit, or do you want a puppy sit to engage his shoulders? So those are the things that you have to consider when you are putting your program together, even if it's just for the shoulders. If you're a little bit unsure, that's what I'm here for. This is what I've studied. So you can get me at the Biokinetic K-9. You can go visit our website, and we look at your dog, I assess your dog, and I put a program together that fits your dog and your dog's sport. So we take into consideration all the things that has to happen in that sporting routine. We make sure that the muscles can handle it. So, for example, in IGP, your dog has to have powerful speed. Everything in a judge's report is about power and presentation of the dog. The dog must be powerful and convincing, and speed. So we take all of those things into consideration when we put the program together. Similarly, in agility. Agility is not something that's endurance. You don't have to go and run your dog all the time. Your dog needs bursts of power for about a couple of seconds, and it needs quick recovery, and then maybe go out again and do a second round. But the dog needs bursts of power, high speed, not so much strength, but more agile speed and fast recovery. So then we incorporate those things into their program. And every dog's structure and form is different. We look at their structure and then look at the form and see where the weaknesses are. We're not talking about show ring structure or breed structure, but we're looking at functional structure for the sport that your dog is in. And then we work on the various areas of angulation and what will be better to build those weaknesses up. No dog is born perfect. That's why I'm not a fan of generic fitness programs. I've never seen a generic dog before. So we look at your particular dog, your dog's strengths, your dog's weaknesses. We work on those weaknesses to incorporate them into the strengths so that you don't sit now with an injury 1 month before a big trial. Okay, so you can find us. My website is the Biokinetic K9.com. You can go there, or you are most welcome to pop me an email if you have any questions. You can find me at fit@thebiokineticK9.com, or you can also just on my website book an appointment. We can chat and we can see if you are interested in any of our programs that we put together. We do also some seminars and workshops for your dog so that you can see what it's all about. Hi, Linda. Thanks for watching. If there's any questions, please pop me a comment below. If you find it interesting, please share with your friends and tell them to share. If you need any questions, I'm here. Where am I? Email address, fit@thebiokineticK9.com, and my website, thebiokineticK9.com. I hope it's been helpful. If you think it's been helpful, please share it with your friends. And if you have any questions, pop me a comment and I'll be happy to answer them. Have a very blessed Easter this weekend. Happy Good Friday. And I will see you next week. Bye, you guys.